So Alhamdulillah, we have 29 participants. We will start with Surah Al-Fatiha before we begin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I would like to wish everybody to the forum, and it is a great honor to have these speakers who are, experts in their own field. What we will have is that every speaker will have like 15 to 20 minutes to speak on a specific area that they will focus on. We will begin with Prof. Dawood, to be followed by Prof. Faris Walid, and also Prof. Rosnani, because we will start with the global issues and then move specifically to Muslim world and then more specifically to the Malaysian example. So it works in that order, and then we will allow question and answer after everybody has presented their piece. Now, perhaps while waiting for Prof. Walid to come in, I will introduce Prof. Dawood Abdul Malik Yahya Al-Hidabi. He did his first degree in physics, then continued to do education for his master's and PhD degrees in the UK. He has worked at Sana University in Yemen from 1987 to 2015, and was the founding president of the University of Science and Technology in Yemen from 1994 to 2007. Can everybody hear me loud?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. He has published more than 140 papers and co-authored several textbooks. He's also the chairman of the Islamic Agency for Quality Assurance and Accreditation of the Federation of Universities of the Islamic World, or FUIW. So indeed, we have very credible speaker to speak on the topic. He also does consultancy and training for national and international organizations, advising ministries of education and higher education, World Bank, UNESCO, UNICEF, ISESCO, OIC, IIIT, and others. He has also helped build Islamic universities in the UK and also Indonesia. So his research interests are curriculum and instruction, quality and governance, higher education leadership, and university auditing and performance development. I will also introduce Prof. Rosnani, and then once Prof. Walid is in, we'll read his credential as well, and then we can start with Prof. Prof. Rosnani, currently an adjunct professor of Educational Foundation and Curriculum, was the former dean of Kuliah of Education of IIUM. She received her PhD in Social Foundations of Education from University of Florida in 1994. In 2006, she founded the Center for Philosophy Inquiry in Education, which was later renamed Center for Teaching Thinking. She actively promotes the use of hikmah pedagogy of philosophical inquiry for critical, creative, caring thinking, communication, and collaboration skills. So I hope she will share aspects of this in her talk, and also you can inquire in the question and answer later on. Now, Prof. Rosnani has written extensively on Islamic education, Islamization of knowledge, hikmah pedagogy, and the curriculum, as well as she has written many book chapters and journals on education and reform, both in Malaysia and in the Muslim higher education. So I'm really excited to hear from our speakers. Perhaps we will start with Prof. Dawood to hear what he has to say on higher education in a general way, global way. Please welcome him.
Thank you, Prof. Farida, for this invitation, and also to problem which happened without prior notice. My talk will be very brief, and we'll be talking about the global issues regarding post-COVID-19 challenges and opportunities. So, but I will focus more on higher education rather than education, of course. We will have to know that at the moment, 90% of world enrolled population of students are at home, which they are around 1.5 billion students in schools and higher education, and they are receiving some sort of online learning, which might be different from one country to another. But even in developed world, they are using what we could say now, it's somehow traditional online. So we are using video conferencing like Zoom now, emails, PDF document, and WhatsApp. Because higher education institutions were not prepared to face this crisis. So in a way, we cannot see an effective virtual learning taking place today. Anyway, but there is a great challenge because only 15% of world population live in developed world, whereas 85% of world population live in less developed or developing countries. And those people are suffering because there is a digital divide. Only 60% of people access internet. And even those who can access the internet, they cannot afford it. They cannot afford it simply because of poverty. And even at the moment, if we are talking about online learning, current online learning is limited to theoretical knowledge and no practical, no hands-on activities. Developing holistic personality cannot be taken care of at the moment because we are focusing only on theories. Student and staff health and safety become a priority out of a sudden because we didn't take that seriously even in the developed world. Student mobility will be limited, and that's another challenge. Many small higher education institutions will be either closed or merged, and that's what research had shown us. In fact, COVID-19 created new roles and responsibilities for all stakeholders, particularly students and staff. Students become more responsible, or they are supposed to be responsible for their own learning, and staff given more burden for preparation of materials and also monitoring individual students. Current teaching and learning and assessment are not compatible with a new mode of learning. So we need to think otherwise. Again, current management structure and policies need to be reviewed because we are looking for smart universities now rather than bureaucratic and red tape routine. Higher education institutions are facing a challenge of reaching out potential students nationally and internationally, particularly in developing countries, because out of a sudden, no communication, no transport, people are at home, so how can we reach them? So it became a problem. That is related to marketing and promotion. Again, even in the developed world, I'll just give you an example how they were affected. In UK, there is 500,000 students, international students, which who represent 20% of the student population in British universities, and they generate 20 billion pounds. Whereas in the States, there are 1 million, and they represent 5.5% of the population, and they generate $45 billion. Now, out of a sudden, we found out immediately 25% of those students in universities are affected, and there is an immediate reduction of student enrollment by 25%. Also, many of the students, 25% of international students coming from China and India mainly. Currently, there are 5 million students in international students in foreign universities. and soon there will be 8 million. And there is an opportunity, of course, in this challenge. But unfortunately, as a result, higher education budget will decrease. In fact, they were less even before COVID-19, let alone after it. So there is international student enrollment is reduced by 25% currently, but it will be reduced by 50 to 70% in the long term. 40% of the international students have decided now to change their destination. And this is in it, there is an opportunity also. But let us know why they are looking for other destination. Simply, they are looking for system flexibility. They are looking for less cost in fees, in living expenses, and better services, mainly for admission, for visa processing and accommodation, as well as health and safety. Now, these are some of the selected challenges in the globe. But let us talk what are the opportunities we can take. Well, number one, it became an issue that we are in need of ethical and caring higher education institute. The human touch become a very important aspect of education. Ethics, as you can see, at the level of states, at the level of universities, and the level of communities, is greatly needed because it's a global problem. It is not specific to one particular race or nation or ethnic groups. Also, we have to rethink and revisit and restructure higher education institution and think of the roles and responsibilities for all stakeholders, because there is a change and shift in the roles. We need also smarter and flexible higher education institution where we have to adopt not only traditional online, but we have to develop and use high-tech tools and technology to develop educational online materials, resources, teaching and learning, assessment, research, administration, and even introducing online program worldwide in different languages through partnership rather than competition with other universities. Also, there is an opportunity for us to develop the capacity of our lecturer and staff and all stakeholders. Again, this is a very important for the practical side because we are focusing on the theoretical and the applied sciences will be affected drastically. So there must be collaboration and partnership with universities and industry. Integrated academic programs which integrate online, on-campus, and more time spent in industry, which we focus on experiential learning or action learning or learning by doing, is become a very important, and students can spend more time in industry. Also, more attention to be given to crisis and risk management. And those people in the third world mainly, they are not taking things seriously, so they have to think significantly about the risk and crisis management. Also, since there is a reduction in terms of revenues and budget, diversification of funding resources to ensure sustainability is a very important aspect. So we have to not focus only on fees, but on investment, walk-up, fundraising, and so on, donation, and so on. Higher education institutions have to collaborate with other institutions to innovate and create new technology for higher education, because now there is a critical need for new technology to be employed in higher education, and this is the right time, and I'm sure there will be a lot of innovation and creativity regarding the new technology which could be used in higher education. We have to adopt innovative digital and virtual promotion and marketing strategies to increase the enrollment in partnership with other world universities. At the moment, there are 160 million students in higher education in the world. but maybe in 2030 it is expected to have half a billion students. And that's an opportunity for all higher education institutions to improve themselves so that they can get some of this or share of the cake. Also, it's an opportunity to recruit international and visiting professors and researchers who are expert in their own areas and preferably who speak more than one internationally recognized language to use and to promote and also to the level of competitiveness in the world, because you can employ them online. So in short, we need to introduce a new culture and ecosystem, and we have to make a paradigm shift to a new environment. I finally say all we have to do is we have to learn how to unlearn the old ways and relearn the new ways of the new era. Thank you for listening, and we hope that we can share and listen to your comments and questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Dawood. It's good that you agree that business cannot be as usual. Yeah, there should be a new culture. Although there was an article by our rector in Star today saying that can there be a new normal for education, or is it a renewed thing? You know, it's not a new thing. So perhaps we will follow up. So we will move on to Prof. Rosnani. Prof. Rosnani is also a consultant to many countries. Yeah? He has done work in Africa, in Indonesia and Thailand, and a recipient of many awards as well, and was a visiting Fulbright way back in, I think it was 2007, yeah, and was visiting scholar with Japanese Foundation in 2006. So please welcome her. She will speak on education in Malaysia and perhaps beyond also. Please welcome her.
Thank you, Prof. Farida.
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah.
I hope my voice is clear.
Yeah.
Clear?
Clear,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me to be among the. As for me, I see this COVID-19 as an intervention. And for all you know, after we find the vaccine, probably inshallah, by 2021, we might just go. You know, in this Ramadan, maybe I should say, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi to everyone. In this Ramadan, as we read the Quran and examine the Quran, I noticed one very familiar feature that Allah always tells us, that, you know, when people are in difficulty, they seek for help in whatever circumstances, whether in the ship and so on. But then he says, oh, whether they are tested through the prophets. But then he said that at the end, when there is no more trouble, there is no more being any threats, they will go back to the old ways of disobeying him. So I think it's human nature. Now we are facing this COVID-19, and we have to change our lifestyle, as what Professor Daud mentioned, unlearn the old ways and relearn new ways. Okay, but I don't know whether it will be permanent, say the new norm will be permanent, or whether it will be just transitory. However, I think before we proceed discussing about the impact post-COVID-19, let's look at pre-COVID-19. Because already actually we were moving. To me, COVID-19 is just a catalyst. As a catalyst, it's just accelerating the process. What is the process that I was observing, that I observed during pre-COVID-19? Well, it is the impact of globalization. And you know how we are going into high-tech with globalization, with ICT. We know the changes in the economy, the natures of workers required, and the nature of the skills needed by the students, even university students. which is basically ICT oriented. Economy is knowledge or information driven, no more labor or capital driven. And we also see that the change in the curriculum is more towards curriculum that tailors for the economy, what we call commodification of knowledge or McDonaldization of education. And therefore, you notice that the humanities courses are not as in good demand as in business and AI, preparing for AI and so on. Okay, so what has happened is that the university has been changing its function. It is more towards a place where people can be trained to get jobs. The university has become a vocational institution. I see this thing moving. And the sad thing you notice is that the cost of education continue to rise. The fees are very expensive. There are now more private education providers than the public education providers, and the fees are exorbitant. And many students cannot afford this. Even in the States, they cannot afford this. So, and also if they graduate from the university, you notice that they are not guaranteed of jobs, even if they have degree. And you notice that there is going to be, if you look at the official data, employment based on their specialization, there is higher number of unemployment. But it doesn't mean that they're employed, they're unemployed. That's why we need to redefine the meaning of employment. Because many of these students, okay, they get job in other sectors, especially they manage to live, if they are creative enough, using the technology. So they are still employed, but they are self-employed. They are not government or private employed. They are self-employed. And you can be rich, like, for example, Facebook, Grab. These are all making use of services, okay? Business with services. So the question now will come to the graduates or students. Is the university worth it if there is no more social mobility? I mean, I can't guarantee myself a job. So then ICT was a choice. Students don't have to use ICT. Like teachers, lecturers don't have to use ICT if they don't want it. Although university tried to employ ICT for offshore learning. Okay. However, with IR Industrial Revolution 4.0, realize that now there is a new era, the robotic era. So either you can get a job where you train the robots, or you have to compete with the robots, and you become what they call this, used by the robots. Okay, but because there are robots, there'll be more unemployment. There'll be more unemployment because robot will replace them. So then, the graduates, our students realize that before they get unemployed, they better acquire ICT and high technology skills, especially IR 4.0. Of course, now we are moving to IR 4.5.0. Actually, before in this pre-COVID-19, I was already envisioning, or you can say dreaming, okay? I came to the conclusion that in the future, people might not want to go to university because it's too expensive. It doesn't guarantee them a job, except for certain disciplines. They can learn through apprenticeship or through the internet. And you notice one thing, the internet, it is full of knowledge today. Whenever you have problem, you just click the word that is bothering you and you see lots of choices of what you want to do with it. People can learn by themselves. And I foresee that in the future, before COVID, okay, some institutions have to close down because people are not going to go to school if the fees is going to be so expensive. So now we have this, maybe what happened is that in the long term, it'd be good because we are going back to the old traditional way where you go and learn. When you want to learn something, you go and find a teacher. In those days, right? That's why they sit under the feet of Al-Ghazali, they sit under the feet of Ibn Khaldun, they sit under the feet of Imam Shafi'i. You know, you want to learn, you go and get it from the teacher. So I think today they can use the internet, they can use emails, they can use YouTube. They can use WhatsApp. They use so many things. Even Zoom now. Okay, so maybe in the future you have to read Wikipedia, text, articles, papers, books, watch and listen to video on YouTube or Facebook, communicate via Facebook, WhatsApp, and email. So I think COVID-19, what happened is it is a catalyst because we are moving in that direction. Some people were still reluctant to use ICT or e-learning. You remember? Many lecturers are reluctant to use e-learning then because we have to agree that learning is a social process. No one learns alone. There is a teacher. Even the Prophet made Jibril to be taught. There is a teacher. Okay, and it is difficult to learn alone. You have to be motivated to learn alone. That's why I said for university students who are looking for a job, they are motivated, okay, because they need a job. But if you are a secondary school student, what motivates you? You're not looking for a job yet, you know? So that is the friendship, the colleagues around you that motivates you to come to school. So what happened is this COVID-19 has compelled higher education to switch mode. Whether you like it or not, this is no choice. You're going to see the student in June. For example, in Malaysia, the semester will reopen in June. Okay? Then you're not going to meet the student. The student will still be at home. You will have to apply the technology. So in other words, COVID-19 compel you, whether you like it or not, to become literate in the use of technology. Okay? So this is where now is a challenge for lecturers and also students, because for the students and the lecturers, both are learning from home or teaching from home. There is going to be distraction. However, something like this, for example, the Zoom, okay, you can record it. You don't have to be on watching it there. You can record it and watch it at your own pace, your own time. It's very difficult to be synchronous. It's easy to be asynchronous. So I think what happened is that, for example, the only problem that we see is that not everybody has access, like Prof. Dawood mentioned just now. Nobody has access to the equipment. To have this opportunity to use high technology, we need to be connected through wireless. So we have to have wireless. We have to have a laptop. We have to have the software. Okay, not all people can afford to have that. If everyone, but of course, I think most students, if we're talking about university students, most students have a smartphone. I think that is sufficient. A smartphone is sufficient. So there shouldn't be any excuse. Unless go and find a cafe, or go, unless your home don't have wireless connection, then it'll be a problem, right? But if you have wireless connection, there's no problem. These are the people that will need help if they don't have wireless connection. Okay, so it means money for them. And the Higher Education Chronicle in the States, okay, they did a survey to find out from the various universities and colleges, about 600 colleges, what are they going to do in the fall semester, in this coming fall semester. I would have to say that face-to-face interaction is the best way of teaching. I think you all agree with me. But if we can't have face-to-face, e-learning is second best. There's no choice. Okay? So in America, what they found was that among the 600 colleges that they surveyed, 68% were planning for fall semester to learn in person. That means still face-to-face, 68%. Okay? And 10% are waiting to decide which one. Only 6% plan to go online. Only 6%. Yeah? And 7% propose a hybrid model. That means you have blended learning. face-to-face and online. Okay, and 10% are considering a range of scenarios. So it's not easy. What's happening is that I see a change in the university, not change so much in learning. There will be change as long as we do not get back to the we don't have the vaccine. Okay, but if we have the vaccine, I think we'll go back to face to face, and that will be maybe 2021, inshallah. Okay, by 2021. Otherwise, then we will continue to have e-learning. But the question now is, how do we do? What do we do? What is the best way to do e-learning? I think this Zoom is one of the best software to come around, because otherwise, there'll just be a video, student listening to the video, okay, and then there won't be interaction face to face. For example, if you go to Google Classroom, you still have to write text, okay. If you use Facebook, you still have to write text. But I think if Zoom, for example, can handle about 20 students, you can see all the faces there, then learning can take place. And we give students a chance to ask questions and to discuss. So in other words, it is still face-to-face using computer, using e-line, online. That's not changed then. It's not changed then. Knowledge is delivered by the teacher, and you still have a discussion. Okay. What is worrisome is we have now even courses being offered, okay, online, and there is no blended at all. So the student just listen, do assignment, return the assignment, and get the grades. Learning is not just that. That's where the humanization of education comes in. For humanization of education to come in, you need to have that face-to-face interaction. So that's why that is the best. We cannot afford to have e-learning for all subjects, for all courses, because some courses need experiments, need hands-on experience. Maybe for the social science is a bit suitable. You know, you can go, for example, to Harvard and look at a lecturer delivering on philosophy of ethics, you know. Although it is you watching the video, but he has his students, you can learn as well as he teaches, you know. So I think from my perspective, what changes the faculty need to do is that the faculty need to attend courses to be competent in the use of technology for online learning. They need more courses now if they want to do online learning. They need to transform the academic offerings because of financial pressures and new demands for students and employers. Okay, there has to be change in the management style, like what Prof. Dawood mentioned just now. I would like to suggest that for the university, it has to offer online, or they can invite students to come back to campus. Invite students to come back to campus, but classes, although they are in campus, are held. If there's 3 credit hours course, half the course is offered blended, I mean face-to-face, the other half is online. In other words, when they are online, they can have, in other words, the physical distancing can still be done. They meet the student, they split the groups into smaller groups, okay? Then they can still have the interaction once a week and online learning once a week, if that is feasible because of physical distancing. I think I've exhausted my time. Dr. Farida?
Yeah, that's wonderful. You know, you've raised many important issues, current and prior to COVID-19. Now, Prof. Walid is still not here?
Yes,
He's here.
He's here now. Okay.
He's here.
All right. Welcome. Prof. Walid, where is your CV? He's trained as an engineer and mechanical engineering, and he has published more than 120 papers in scientific journals and more than 100 papers in conferences, has written 6 textbooks and monograph in his area of expertise. He has been working on higher education policies and strategies in the Muslim world and civilizational studies in the contribution of Muslims in science and technology, and is also published in both Arabic and English in this area. Now, he will speak on higher education in the Muslim world. Please welcome him.
Thank you very much, Prof. Farida, and welcoming higher education. I think there are a few points I need to address, in fact. The Muslim world education, when we talk about it, we are talking about a very diversified type of educational systems. We have countries which are very well developed. They have infrastructure already for e-learning. They have been doing this for a while. And we have countries who are struggling with the infrastructure. And we have countries which the infrastructure is very, very poor, very, very poor. So the universities are actually a very small, if you visit the university, it's a small, something like small house or something like this. So we are talking about a very diversified background on this issue. Before COVID-19, the challenges of the education, higher education in the Muslim world were mainly in a few areas. Number one was to have a quality education. So we have a kind of standardized approach to whatever discipline we're teaching. And then the second challenge was to have qualified people to teach, because some countries they have, some countries they don't have. So this was another challenge. And then third was the proper infrastructure for some countries, because I will not mention countries because it might be sensitive, but some countries, they don't have really proper infrastructure. So this was face-to-face. We are talking about face-to-face education. We are talking about the regular type of education that we are doing. Now, with COVID-19 and before COVID-19, we have other problems, actually. We have war zone areas in the Muslim world. We have conflict areas in the Muslim world. So education is already have been disrupted before COVID-19, in fact. This is a very important issue. People try to cope with it, but up till now, they couldn't cope with it. With COVID-19 now, so this disruption is getting worse. Is getting worse. Now I've been reading some reports on some countries recently. Students in school, in higher education, they cannot access anything during the lockdown in some countries because there is no internet or infrastructure for internet or Wi-Fi or. So there are a few issues we need to look into it properly in this. In this current problem, but there is also, when we have a problem, usually or a challenge, I would say a challenge like COVID-19, we will have also opportunities, and I think maybe Prof. Husnani talked about this one. So the opportunity now is many people talking about is actually it is easy to have any lecturer or professor to teach for any university. And in fact, I've been reading an article just yesterday on Chronicles Higher Education, related on that there will be a bit of a cooperation between some universities in UK, having professors teaching cross between universities for the time being. And I think this is one of the very good approaches that we need to adopt among Muslim countries, or at least within a single Muslim country, that you can exchange the scholars to teach the courses, and of course need to be done properly. So the advantage that we have now is this distance learning or learning using whatever software, Zoom or WebEx or anything like this, it will make education available for many people, and it will make some quality also courses available for many people. But still, what remains is the countries or the places where it has a kind of a conflict zone or a war zone, and there is no proper infrastructure for internet or any things like this. Of course, this needs a lot of work, and this is, I think, we cannot solution in this discussion. It needs maybe United Nations, OIC, or some other countries to assist each other on this type of things, because this is not an easy job to be done. The other challenge also that we are going to face, I'm not sure if any of our former professors addressed this issue, is the issue of the fees. In United States, in UK, and in Australia now, people are raising a flag for, okay, now we will have online education for the coming, maybe the coming of 2020 or maybe up to 2021. So are the fees justified? Of course, in Malaysia, maybe the fees are okay, reasonable to some extent, and for the Malaysian is subsidized by the government. But for private education, no, this is a very serious question. For private education, this is a very serious question. Because usually when a student pay the fees, part of the fees are services for the student on campus and face-to-face type of thing. So this is one thing also need to be addressed and need to be discussed clearly. So it will not be causing harm on both sides. It will not cause harm to the university, and it will not cause harm to the student as well. This is one of the issues that people are really addressing. The other thing also, it's related to professors and lecturers, and this is also one thing that need to have a legal framework, which if you will open up to other universities to teach, so with this will be accepted by your university or will not be accepted, how the legal framework for this. I think it should be easy, it shouldn't be a big issue, but in the same time, we need to have a framework for this, to facilitate such effort, because this will add a lot to the benefit of the students in general, One of the third points also that we need to think about it. Of course, here I don't think we are putting solutions. We are putting main points that people need to think about it, because solution, it will go to the decision makers. It will not, we will not decide about the solution, but we suggest solutions. As I heard Prof. Rosnani was talking, unfortunately I couldn't get what Prof. Dawood said. One of the challenges also in teaching online is the quality of face-to-face. The human touch is lost. So how you can compensate this? This is also another challenge that we need to look into it, because at the end of the day, our everyday communication with the student is not only in the classroom, it's also on other venues. Sometimes the students will come to you to tell you some of their own problems, personal problems. They ask you to help, and so with the online system and with the lockdown all over the world, this is not really feasible, or will be at least will be restricted. It will not be as before. So also we should have a way for the student to express their problems, and also a way to solve it somehow, and a way to work on it. This will be another challenge that we need to, on the university level, on the management level, that we need to look into it. One of the serious issues also that we need to differentiate between human sciences and hard sciences, engineering, chemistry, physics, medical, and all these type of things. because of the labs, the necessity of the student going to labs or going to practical internship or anything like this, or going to hospital, the online education also will pose a serious challenge. And this need to be resolved, need to be resolved. I think for the assessment, for the issue of the assessment of the student, of course, Professor Nani and Professor Dawood might comment on this, but already we have many ways to assess, so there's no issue. About assessment, I don't think there is a big issue. Because assessment already we have many ways to assess, and for online education it has been going on, and there will be an issue on this. But the part related to the practical, especially for sciences, natural sciences, medicine, other things, how we are going to compensate for this and how the student should do. And for the time being, I know some of my even students, postgraduate students and others, they're supposed to do some practical work for their projects, for their thesis, and now they don't have an access to it. So it might be sometimes possible for the supervisor or the person responsible to try to change the topic a little bit, but sometimes you are already halfway or 75% done. So you have no other way except to do the experiment or to go to make a kind of a practical thing in the place, in the field. So these are things also that we need to look into it. And in my, according to my knowledge, even for the online education, though it is, the technology facilitate many things, but in the same time, there was a discussion long time back and still continue that even bigger universities who are having online education, they request to have at least 20 to 30% face-to-face part of the course. And if I'm not mistaken, this is also a condition internationally to accept the degree. If there is an online degree, that you need to have a percentage of face-to-face communication for the education. So there are a few issues on the legal part, on the financial part, and also on the infrastructure part that we need to look into it. Can the universities and the Muslim world cooperate? Yes, of course they can. And I think this is a time to test the cooperation between the universities. Many times we claim that we are working as a team, we are cooperating together, and we have MOUs and we have many other things. But I think this is a time now to test the truth about this MOUs and to test the truth about this cooperation if we really want to come over this issue. Many of the analysis related to COVID-19, people are talking about that we are going to, we will not come back to normal, at least for the coming 2 to 3 years. So full normal, we will not come to normal for the coming 2 or 3 years. Means that we need to handle this abnormal situation in different degrees for the coming 2 or 3 years. And we need to prepare the student, we need to prepare the staff, and also the management of the universities in general, whatever the university is, whether it's a private or a public university, need to come up with a kind of a plan, clear plan and strategic plan for the coming at least couple of years that will adapt and will be flexible enough to handle the changes in the situation that we are facing, which as many people said, it has never been met before. It's a kind of a very weird situation that the whole world is locked down, or maybe 80% of the world is locked down. So this is a situation that never happened. And I was on a panel discussion a few days ago about the economic impact of COVID-19, and people were commenting that it is really very interesting because all the people who did strategic planning have never thought of such a situation. It's for them something out of the blues. Though everybody say, we make risk analysis, we make a risk assessment, and we put whatever, or a scenario planning and everything. But, and the one who said so was a professor in one of the European universities. He said, and he has been doing this for a while, scenario planning. He said, we have never thought of such situation, that the whole world could be locked down. So people need to make major changes and a major adaptation for the coming few years. So I think to conclude this, this is for the Muslim world higher education system. It's a big challenge and also a big opportunity. The opportunity to show whether we are really have solidarity or we really have what we promote as we are a teamwork or supporting each other and this type of things, or it is only a kind of a verbal compliments that has no truth on the ground. And as I mentioned, the universities, the serious universities, need to go into a very quick strategic planning based on a scenario planning for the coming at least 2 years to adapt with the changes in the financial system and also with the changes of the delivery system that we are going to face. And in the same time, we need to put in mind the students as the Islamic rule, لا ضرر ولا ضرار. So there is no harm and you should not cause harm for others. So we need to balance this. We need to have a proper assessment for the coming situation financially and educationally for everybody. I think these are my quick comments. There's a lot of data, but sometimes the data will be very scary. One bad data, but maybe not all the Muslim universities are having such a problem, is actually many of the European, Australian, and even United States universities are having serious problem financially because it was depending mainly on foreign students. So we are talking about UK. A few days ago, there was an article, 2.6 billion sterling losses. And Australia, 1 month ago, there was 5 billion Australian dollar losses because of the foreign students, because the number of foreign students was, in some universities, was 50% even, and more than 50%. And now those students cannot come. They cannot come, or they are locked in their places. There will be, but fortunately for the Muslim world, majority of the students are not foreign students. So it was an issue before, but now it is a fortunate thing that most of the students are not foreign students, they are local students. So at least you have your flux of students continuing somehow. But still, we need to look into a few things related to it. I will conclude my remarks by this note on the challenges that I mentioned, some of the data. There's a lot of other data, of course, and some data related to African universities and other places universities are quite seriously alarming, and we need to look into it carefully. Thank you very much, Prof. Farida.
Thank you, Prof. Walid. I think you have raised very pertinent issues on challenges and opportunities. Before I open up the forum to questions, perhaps for those who arrived late, I will just sum up some of the key points raised by Professor Daud earlier, for those who came late. Now, he raised the need for ethical and caring human higher education institution in higher education, in higher learning educations, flexible approaches and ways, continuous capacity building for lecturers and staff, diversification of finance resources, going back and making use of wakaf system, for example, creating new technology, tapping on more than 160 million students around the world through digital marketing and so on, and opening up the recruitment of international staff, visiting professors, and this was also stressed by Prof. Walid. It cannot be any better or any easier than now getting access to world professors through online. It's just a matter of how do we do this? How do we pay them? Do you do it for free? And so on and so forth. Prof. Rosnani raised the fear or the threat of relying too much on ICT, robotics, and so on. So I think, and the possibility of people not wanting to go to university anymore because of the access of information on internet. But also the need for apprehensionship, because that you cannot do online, because you need real people, real experience, and so on. So I think with all these issues, I open up to everybody to our question and answer session. Please say who you are and address your question to any specific panelist. Thank you. Questions, I would like to raise this to problems.
Yes.
Because, can you hear me?
Yeah. To mute our microphone.
Yeah, if you're not speaking, mute. And then if you're talking, please unmute it. Otherwise, you hear noise in the background. Now, my question is, of course, we are in early days, and we are of a generation. But the coming generation will be digital natives. To all them, to these people, what we raise here is not a problem. That is one question. We are addressing the current generation with all these challenges and opportunities. But perhaps in 5-10 years, it's a new scenario. So how would you respond to that? Because education has to continue despite the challenges mentioned earlier. Prof. Rosnani?
Okay, you're talking about the next generation and the new generation.
Yeah.
The generation.
Yeah.
Well, I think this new generation are very much adapt means good, with technology, and many of them are tested during this lockdown. As you can see, they are trying to use the internet to order things, to deliver things. So we are beginning to see that they are employing their whatever skills that they have. And even for myself, when the young one comes, the young generation ask me what to do for employment, because they're asking this because they cannot find jobs. I told them, how did Mark Zuckerberg make his money? How did the Grab founder make his money? He didn't have any capital. All he did was he connect people with the service and people who needs the service. So I was even telling them, maybe you should think what is the service most needed by the community. You go and find some of them that provide the service, and you make a website that will promote these people. For example, like Lazada, Mudacom. What do? They're just connecting. So I said, maybe if you think that Malaysian women need a lot of massage for their body and so on, or maids. Of course, now maids they have the service, right? So you create a service for a woman who massage other women. You see. So in other words, you have to be creative. That's why I said, in the future, I would see that there is no need for university except for those who want to become medical doctors, who want to become lawyers, the professionals. But if you're talking about business, well, they have to go for higher learning to go if they want to become MNC, what do you call this, executive directors and so on, right? But they're talking about their own livelihood as SMEs, or agriculture SMEs. They don't need to go to universities anymore. They can learn direct through apprenticeship. Go to the agricultural person who is growing that crops or rearing that livestock. Learn from them, and then use the internet for marketing, selling and marketing. So this is the new thing, the new generation. That's why I'm saying that in the future I foresee early primary level education is still necessary because it's basic 3 hours or 4 hours religion. Secondary school is still necessary, provide you the basic for the disciplines. But university, it depends. And if you are coming from the poor family, you like as Prof. Walid said, maybe Malaysia is lucky because our fees are not so expensive. And even if it's expensive, we have the loan from the government. But that's what they have in America too. But the loan becomes to like the total loan for 4 years of a degree course is like buying a house. You know, using credit cards. So the same thing here. They can get loans and they can still go to university. But if they know that the field that they are doing there is not going to get a job, they might not want to come. So I think the promise of COVID-19 is that we will go back to the true meaning of education. If you want to get a job through education, this is not necessarily the place. But if you want to become potentially developed intellectually, you know, all your other skills that you need, then that's what they would be looking for is the 5 C's, as I would say: the creative, critical, you know, caring thinking or ethical thinking, and then they need to be able to communicate and collaborate. So they need this, and because when we say critical and creative, that is how they can create their own life. And in the past, even in the early parts of Islam, okay, they don't go to school for jobs, except that like Ibn Sina would say that after they finish memorizing the Quran and so on, you give them one kind of skills or vocation. He's the only one that emphasized that with Ibn Khaldun, I think. So, but otherwise, our purpose in university is also not to train them to become for a job. We're not a vocational institution. We want them to develop their own mind so that not only for a job, but they can even question what's wrong with the society, what's wrong with the leadership, you know. Then they can go and change the country through revolution. The one we are not speaking of. We are speaking more for jobs. I don't think that is the only function of a university. So I think, of course, the new generation will be different. They are seeing this already. They're seeing that they can become rich without going to university. Okay, so the only thing they have to have the basic knowledge. Thank you, Dr. Farida.
Thank you. Anybody to respond? Prof.
Yes, I would like to say a few words. I think our higher education at the moment is very rigid in its system. We are looking for more flexible in terms of widening access for higher education with diversification of routes rather than just SPM or something, you know, O level or A level, and that's it. So we have to have flexibility in the system. That's number one. Second, we have also to expose our students for longer period in industry. So there must be some sort of integration between online, on campus, and industry internship. But it is a longer one, so that they are exposed to more hands-on activities. Thirdly, now at the moment there a wide scope and pool of students all over the world, and they're hungry for education, and we are very restrictive, very limiting. We are limiting our access to our universities. So I think flexibility I think, inshallah, to prepare people for the next generation, because then we have to accept and be passionate about change, ready to change. One of the major obstacles is resisting change. To what extent our higher education or universities are ready to accept change and start planning. From my own reading, they said in order to the university to go back to normal, they might take 5 years, not only 2 years even, back to normal. So it needs a quick decision to plan according to the new and recent changes happening in the world?
Yeah, I think there's a question in the chat there, Dr. Farida.
Uh-huh.
There's a question, do you foresee increase or decrease in university teaching staff, especially in UIA? Well, if I were to answer that question, I would say that there is no, I don't see any possibility of increase in university teaching staff. Don't you agree? Because we are constrained by the amount of financial what do you call this, strength that we have. And as we know, even before pre-COVID-19, there's already this what do you call this, corporatization, and the ministry would reduce everybody's spending by 30%, right? Therefore, university are very hard put. In fact, that's why you can see many lecturers resigning, or even professors not wanting to renew their contract. Okay, because of the new terms, which is not very attractive to them. But I guess for new lecturers, it is something. So in other words, they all are moving to give room for the new. That's how I see it. Okay, the senior professors are moving to give room for the younger ones. Okay.
More technical savvy.
I think that is there's no way they can increase. They are just maintaining it, right? If I'm not wrong.
But I think there's also a danger in thinking that technology can replace human beings. That's not the way it should be. It is just a tool. You know, in the West, that's why in the West, it doesn't replace the person. We just use it to facilitate. But I think in Asian countries and developing countries, we are prone to use it to replace us. This is where the difference lies, I think. So I think when you say for increase or decrease, you're thinking about the machine or online teaching replacing real teachers. You still need people to teach online or offline. So I don't see, there should be a threat.
Actually, a quick issue, just a few comments. I do really appreciate the comment by Prof. Rusnani about this through education, and I think this is what will happen. In the coming few years. The other thing related to decrease or increase of stuff, UIA, of course, it has its own policy, so I will not reply for UIA, but I will just give an example. Now. What's going on? I have my friend, his daughter is entering one university in the United States. And when she went online in this small college, not a very big university, it's a small university college. And then when she went to check the courses, she was a bit surprised and confused. They were living outside the States, but now they moved. So she found for each course, they are putting 5 or 6 lecturers for the same course, and she can select. So with the online system, it will become like what Prof. Rusnani said, Lazada. So you will choose between the lectures. You are not confined to one lecturer, one classroom you have to go. So nobody can restrict the student to say you have to go to this one. So you need to give some room for the thing. And the other comment I really also appreciate, because I mentioned this in a conference maybe 10 years back, the rigidity of the current higher education. I mentioned this 10 years back, actually, in a paper. The rigidity of the higher education system worldwide will lead to its collapse. And COVID-19 is accelerating this collapse. So if people are not being flexible and they don't have new ideas, then the whole system will seriously facing a very, very serious problem. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there is a question that is raised by Brother Hashim Slamat here. Says that how do we conduct leadership training with the new norms when normally we have to group the students and conduct it?
Yeah, should I answer? Those who do training, Prof.
Well, yes, I think training it has two things. I mean, the main focus is skills building. And in order to develop skills, you have to put your hands in the mud. So they have to be exposed to projects. So online, it's supporting only, but the person to be trained is he has to be coached and mentored in action, implementing project.
I guess he's talking about leadership of students, because he's saying that in the past we what was it now? We group students. I really don't not clear. Maybe Brother Hashim should raise the question again. I don't see where is it now.
Ada. He left already?
I don't know. There are many questions that you can read in the chat.
The chat.
Yeah. There's one from Saumu. I can see the decreasing number of students enrolled to the university for degrees in the near future. It's the time to shift our business focus to vocational and entrepreneurial training. How to change the mindset of what is it?
Our students that learn no university degree.
No, but
What does she
that's
mean
what
by
I said.
Saumu?
That's what I said. We have to prolong the internship program in industry so that student can be exposed to hands-on activities. So we need on-campus, online, and in this industry-based learning. Three of them.
I would add also to this, the change of mindset is usually a community type of thing, is a society type of thing. So for example, many cases, I know many cases, also I will not mention countries, of our students from different Muslim countries, when I ask him why you are studying master or why you are studying PhD, a lot of them, the answer will be because my friend studied master or my friend studied PhD, or because my family asked me to study master or to study PhD. Though I always say to anybody who come to work with me, I will tell him, if you are not planning to be an academician, better to go into the market and save the time of the PhD and the master, because it will take time and then it will not add much to your market value. Except if you are an academician. So I think it's a society type of thing. And this will change. This is replying to brother or sister Somo. This will change because of the economical situation. It will change. So it will be a kind of a force change, not a kind of a self-change. There is a question in Arabic, and the question is saying, are we going to transform knowledge into a commodity? And we will make this like, because we are saying Lazada and this type of thing. So he's a bit concerned about this issue. In my opinion, I don't think it will be a commodity, but it will be a wider type of option selection. And this has been in the history of Islamic education, it has been like this. Students will select which sheikh they want to go to study under. They will never restrict it to one sheikh. They will never restrict it. You have to go to Mr. X or Mr. Y. Sometimes you will go to one sheikh, they study with him, and then they don't like him, and then they switch to another one. There's no issue. So it's not a commodity, but actually we are giving more options. This is my opinion. Maybe others can comment.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the basic question of why do we do education at all? Because Prof. Roslani said, is it for the market? Is it for job purpose? Or is it to create, intellectual thinkers, thought leaders, to say what's wrong with the society and so on. So not everybody goes to university to get employment. Some go for knowledge and to be enlightened, to be a better person. So it goes back to the philosophy of education, I think. But as mentioned earlier, we have transformed universities into factories. And I think how the issue is, how do we get our way out? In Malaysia, it's quite clear. You know, if we are going for vocational training, there are schools and they are turning into perhaps, you know, bigger centers now. You know, government is putting a lot of emphasis on this training, you know, for employment and skills. But if you expect universities to function as vocational colleges, this is where we need to be careful. Um, you know, I don't know. I mean, how do you respond to this?
I guess this is where the curriculum of the university has to be flexible, because in other words, people come for a variety of reasons. But do we give them a choice? Now, even in higher education in Malaysia, for example, we were, I think, once for a short time, we didn't have a Ministry of Higher Education. Okay. So I don't know whether you think this is good or bad. But once you have the Ministry of Higher Education back, then it tries to uniformize, standardize every university. So I think this is a problem, because higher education is where once the leader has the opportunity to be creative and innovative for his university. But if he is controlled to be exactly the same as the others, then it defeats the purpose of a university. So I think this is another issue that I think does not give much freedom to the rectors or the vice chancellors of university to become creative. You know? So I think the curriculum, if we want to offer for a variety of students, it has to be a variety as well. The only thing is there must be economy of scale. Otherwise, how can you pay for the lecturers? So this is where, because of economy of scale, you have to narrow down the choices. But still, I still think that in the future, once I predicted that, you know, for education, we have first the radio education, educational radio, it goes off. Then we have the educational television, and it never stays on. It also disappears. And then we have the multimedia, and lastly we have the internet. Okay, and I was saying to our colleagues who were, when I was visiting on behalf of Prof. Kamal Hassan to the UK, I was telling them this one is here to stay. The computer with the internet is here to stay. That was in 1996. And it is true. Okay. Why? Because it is interactive. There is dialogue, there is discussion. You can do that with the internet. You cannot do that with the television and the radio before. So I would say, I would predict, as I said earlier, in the future, because of the rising cost of education, especially for private higher education, there'll be less people going to get education, because most of them go to the university for a degree that will get them a job. I mean, that is the reality of life. Okay, but they're not getting the job now. So so education is an investment of the parents. I put so much money, I expect some return, but there's no return to investment now. So I'm not going to invest anymore. So they might, even after O level, A level, they might be already working on some internet, what do you call this, Prof. Walid, engineer, you have this software programming, okay, C++ and so on. They might be learning this thing and doing it. I've seen some of the Form 5 students doing this. And we have seen this even among the Chinese and the West. Okay. So I think for me, this is a liberation. Okay, I'm not saying that when I say that there is no university, there is a decline. No, it's a liberation. In other words, we go back to the old days where everyone has a freedom to get education. You find it, you go and study it. Just now you said about apprenticeship. You go apprenticeship, but a little early. You learn. You cannot be a mechanic without being working with one. So this is the thing. This is what if talking about the Muslim community is lacking. That is what they are lacking. Apprenticeship. in the real stuff, hard stuff, even Malays. So I think they realize that that will give them a job rather than going to the university and not getting anything at the end of it.
There is one question, I think, from Sister Azlina Aman. This is directed to me about the internet collapse. I would say if we are doing strategic planning now, yes, internet, we need to put one of the option is internet collapse. Before we didn't put any option, for example, that we have a worldwide lockdown. So currently, yes, we need to have in the scenario planning that suddenly we have a collapse in the internet in one country or several countries. And currently, also because of the extensive use of Zoom and WebEx and other online facility for meeting and conferences, there has been a lot of hacks, and this has been reported all over the world. So it will be another challenge. It will be another challenge, and if we do strategic planning, we need to put one of the scenarios that there will be suddenly a disruption in the internet service. So what you need to do? Yes, true. Yeah, true.
Breakdown. I think we have like 4 minutes before we wrap up. Any more questions? There's one question from Kuantan. How would you solve issues of courses that require practical training more than theoretical learning? I think it was addressed earlier, but perhaps somebody would like to respond to this.
Yeah, I think that is the difficulty with online learning. When we have like in medicine, engineering, science, when you have laboratories and you have real hands-on demonstration. I mean, I can do the experiment, demonstrate experiment in front of my students, but they don't have anything in front of them. This is experiential learning. If you do that, then we are just copying the school system. They don't have enough apparatus. The teacher will do the most experiment in front, and everyone else will watch and see, and then write the results. So that can't happen at the university level. Okay, so that's why it is necessary to have that blended learning, where face to face, where although it is online, there must be certain component that they have to come. And talking about this pandemic, maybe this is stupid me, okay? But we are doing so much. I think now we can lock down by country. So globalization has its goods and its bad. So we have seen the worst of globalization. Now we lock down every country. We cannot travel with other countries. We are free to travel within our countries because we can control it. Even if I got a positive, okay, positive COVID-19, it doesn't mean I'm going to die. Because the statistics show that now in Malaysia, the possibility of recovery is 80.9%. So in other words, it is just now going back to the common flu. Flu can cause death as well. Okay, so in other words, we can if we got the infection, it doesn't mean that we are going to die. We can just quarantine ourselves and do certain things that is from the advice of the doctors. And then hopefully after 14 days or 20 days, we're up and running. So in other words, we have to slowly unlock ourselves. Otherwise, there was a question just now, student learning at home, they are feeling there's going to be mentally challenged. If your home is large, it's okay. But if you have a small home, sharing it with 7 siblings, for example, okay? So there will be lots of problems in the house today. That's why there is a higher reports of what they call this home assaults because of confinement. So I think now we should unlock ourselves. In other words, allow people to go to the what they call this playground. Allow people to jog. I mean, that should be unlocking because this is good for our vitamin D, and that is good for immunity. So I think we shouldn't be overreacting to this pandemic. That's what I feel, because in the beginning, yes, but now I think we have sort of stabilized it and control it. So we should slowly ease it back. Definitely, even if those people don't die of COVID, they will die out of high blood pressure or diabetes and so on, isn't it? Allahu alam.
By the way, there are two sides for the practical. The practical part of it will be in the labs in the universities, and that will be soon allowed with some sort of social distancing. But the authentic learning, they should go to industry so they can stay longer there. So we have theory plus practical plus authentic hands-on activities. I think all programs should have these three components.
Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, I would like to thank all three panelists for such a wonderful discussion. Very broad and vast, something for us to think about and to follow up. So I think this is it. Unless there are other burning questions, are there any participants who are below 30 years old? Yeah?
Hello.
Yes?
Yes, I'm from Dhaka, University of Dhaka.
Okay.
Professor Kausar Mustafa Abdullahi of the Department of Philosophy. I have heard your lecture with much enthusiasm, very interesting and very stimulating. I think in this program will continue, and we have to think very carefully on overall aspect of education of the Muslim Ummah, particularly moral side. This is very important. Morally, we are lagging behind, where Muslim nations are actually morally lost. We have been termed as the best Ummah, Khairum Ummah, but unfortunately, morally, we are lost nations. So, for without moral upgradation, I think no education will be effective. So all the steps you are taking, we have proposed. I think I support it. I agree with your approaches. So inshallah, this program will continue, and we will continue it globally. We'll be interconnected, and then we can, I think, benefit from such programs.
Okay.
This is my
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think there was a question, Prof. Farida, in the chat from one participant about the mental challenges that students are facing under the lockdown. And I think this is a serious issue, need to be addressed. But also, I'm telling the person who is asking the question, because I can. This from Naib. Naib, he said how students' emotional disorder, like feeling lifeless, caused by lockdown and less interaction, can be addressed. And I'm just, I will not answer the question, but I think this is something seriously you need to address. But I'm telling him also, not all to students, everybody, even the lecturers, also have emotional stress from the lockdown. So not only you.
Yeah. What we did at IIUM, especially our kuliah, the psychology department, is that get the students hooked up to a lecturer, and we coach them online. Some of us have participated in it. Dr. Aino, you're one of them, right? Coaching online. I know. Would you like to share? Unmute your mic. I know Azmin.
You see her?
Yeah, she's there, but she's not responding. It's okay. But this is what we do. You know, we speak online to our students just so that we get them engaged, not just on academic matters, but also other issues. So that helps, especially during the lockdown in the last 2 months. Any more questions? Otherwise, this is it for this session. If we organize any more, we'll let you know. Thank you for participating. We had close to 60 people online, and this will be recorded. You can pass on the link once you have our link later on forwarded to you. Thank you, everyone, and we'll finish with Suratul Al-Asri.
Kan dia scroll ni.
Huh?
Dia kena sign in untuk Zoom ni. Lambat.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you very much, all of you.
Okay, thank you so much for being here.
She has a question. I think she want to share something.
Oh yeah, who's that?
Dr. Inas from Emirates.
From UAE, Dr. Inas, yes. You have question?
Yes. No, actually, we just finished our second semester online with our students. I think for you in IIOM, you postponed your semester, right? But for us, we continue the semester. And it was really interesting and a good experience for all of us. And actually, like lots of people, they didn't like it at the beginning, but later on, we find it's really, really good. For example, for the attendance, most of my students, and not only me, also for the other professors, they were attending all the classes online. And I suggest that you start do the blended learning. So you have asynchronous and synchronous sessions. That needs the professors to be trained on how to design their course or redesign their course. We used several assessment methods. We used online testing. We used also lots of lockdown browser respondents to make sure that the students are not while they are doing the exams. Also, we had a good experience with the interaction with the students. Actually, we didn't use Zoom, but we used MS Teams. So we created classes on MS Teams so you can interact with students online, or you can also post to them videos and assignments inside.
Dr. Shah, unmute your microphone. Okay, Dr. Inas.
Okay, yes. And it was a really a good opportunity for us, all of us, to take online classes and to give workshops for the professors how to use the technology. We have a really excellent professors in their discipline, but they don't know how to use the technology. So we volunteer to train them how to use the new technology. And me being an IIU alumni, I'm willing to give training also for free for any professors in IIU.
Oh, okay, that's good, Inas.
Yeah, you know me.
They're doing it now in Kuliah now. Under
Okay.
university now, under CPD, Prof. Nolide. What do you think about your invitation? I'll convey it to them.
Okay, great.
What course are you teaching when you say it was very successful? Is it the social sciences, basic courses, or engineering, or medicine, or?
No, it's in education. And again, like for practicum, the training for the teachers, we started our semester in January. So January, February, we were at schools with the students for the practicum. But later on, we had to do all the things online. So we start training our teacher students to teach online. So we changed the whole process from monitoring them inside the classroom, monitoring them how to teach online. And it was really interesting, because we find out that they lack lots of skills. And again, we had to do remedial training to empower them and give them lots of skills. They know their subjects, but they don't know how to present it or to use it online. In terms of interaction, actually, I found MS Teams are really good because inside the classroom, face to face, when
What
you
was
ask
the
a
last name?
question,
The software again? MSD,
MS Teams,
MS Team. Oh,
M
Microsoft Team. Is that it?
yes,
MS Team. Okay. Mhm.
okay.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, face to face. Actually, you ask the question, only one or two students will participate. But in MS Teams, I ask the question and all the students start answering on the chat. So, and I tell them, okay, I will give you 2 minutes to type. Don't send the answer until I say, okay, now send. So no one will copy from the other. Yeah, and it was really interesting. The students, they loved it. But the thing that they didn't like at all is the online exams. It was like,
Yeah, they get
like
used to it, huh? Become a
yeah,
culture. Huh?
yeah, because the system that we implemented, it will monitor the students because they need to turn on the cameras. So it will monitor the whole thing around the students, and it will lock down the screen so he cannot access any other things on the computer. That's it. So if you need any questions or if you need anything, I will be available and ready to help.
Okay. I think that's it, folks. We have to wrap up. It's already 3:42.
Yeah.
Thank you once again for everybody and Dr. Inas for your contribution. We hope to see you again in our next session. We'll let you know when we have one. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Allah wa barakatuh.